What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about the lullaby technique, and it's a powerful technique. It's utilizing the alpha theta state of mind. It's similar to the state akin to sleep in the sense that you are using that time before sleep, but it's really kind of based around repeating an affirmation in a robotic way. So it pretty much is it is robotic affirming. It's just doing it at night. But I'm going to read a couple success stories and give you guys examples because it's a really interesting success story. And then there's another post that I found that breaks down basically just giving us something concrete as concrete examples so that we can use this for ourselves. So this one is called Lullaby is Very Powerful. It wasn't really my go-to, but I decided to give it a try lately because it's convenient for me. Here are some of my successes this week along with the affirmations I used to lullaby to myself. So my SP went completely ghost for 5 days, and I got a response the morning after using the affirmation, she'll respond tomorrow. So that's simply him before going to bed saying, she'll respond tomorrow. She'll respond tomorrow. Like lullabying himself to sleep to that. So been looking for a job for months to no avail. Received 4 calls today to set up interviews. One even asked me to start tomorrow if I could, all in my preferred field. And for this one, it was, I have such an amazing job. I have such an amazing job. I have such an amazing job, right? Going to sleep. This is a form of hypnotic suggestion. You can call it the lullaby technique. You can call it robotic affirming. It's all the same thing. The reason that doing it at night in this way, it becomes more hypnotic because you're in that alpha state of mind. You're more receptive. Your subconscious is more receptive towards these suggestions when you were in alpha, theta, brainwave states. And I talk about this in my book, but this is, before going to sleep, right after you wake up, and also in the afternoon is another great time to use this period where your brain naturally gets into that trance-like state. You can also do it while you're driving, because a lot of times you notice that you're driving around, you don't even remember like, oh, I just turned here, because your mind gets into a trance-like state. When you're doing something mindlessly, when you're engaged in a mindless activity, maybe in the shower, a lot of inventors talk about they got their best ideas in the shower. Albert Einstein is like quoted saying, well, why do I always get my best ideas in the shower? Again, I talk about all this in my book, but any of these states, any of these times where we're driving, we're in the shower, we're cooking dinner, we're cleaning, great times to use a technique like this. So the next one has been looking for a job for months. Yeah, okay, we've got that one. So the SP, he made his SP lose her job, which sounds funny, but we'll see. So it's a long story. It wasn't best for her. He's saying the job wasn't best for her. She has since found a better one. And for this, he used the affirmation, she doesn't work there anymore. So she doesn't work there anymore. She doesn't work there anymore. Using it before sleep. And the last one he said was getting over a cold in 2 days. I'm not even sick, right? So yeah, my advice is just talk to yourself as if you're going to sleep. Our thoughts are swarming right before bed. Just turn them in your favor. And if you put your faith behind it, all your faith behind it, it will come quick. And as you achieve these successes, your faith will build up more and more, and it just gets easier to step into the life that you want. And that's a good point, because we do, and our subconscious and our whole psychology responds to momentum, the winner effect. There's a whole book called The Winner Effect. But when you start stacking the small wins, so it's like, yeah, see how quickly I got over that cold? See how quickly I was able to, you can practice on smaller things, like somebody's going to give me a compliment today, or somebody's going to say this thing to me today. And when you begin to see these things reflected, you're gaining more and more momentum. You're gaining more and more confidence with this whole approach. You get the small cup of coffee. That's why these things can be useful. You get the parking space. Anyways, so I'm going to read a couple of comments here. So this technique is amazing. It works wonderfully every single time. The thing I notice about this is that it feels like you are taking a back seat and just surrendering to the wish fulfilled, as compared to other techniques where you have to maintain some composure to be able to perform your imaginal act. I think they miswrote that, but I get what they're saying. Trying to be conscious and not drift off before it's done right. This makes you want to fall asleep while doing it. And you don't even have to take one thing at a time, but you can literally take a sentence and imply everything you wanted has already happened. Yeah. And that's like Neville's "Isn't it wonderful" type thing. It's just an all-encompassing statement. Isn't it wonderful? I don't use that because that's not how I speak. But I'll give you some ones here in a second that are ones that I would personally use or ones that I would recommend. So somebody else, I'm just gonna read a couple of these. I remember before knowing this, I was going camping with my person at the time. We'd gotten into an argument though. When going to bed, I thought all but once, he's excited to go camping. And then he texts me the next morning, I'm excited to go camping. Love it. This person said, congrats, you are so correct. This will only build your concrete knowing. For those new, I implore you not to go for the insane things right away. Start small and record all the things you manifest. This will build up your belief, making the bigger things easier and easier. And that's exactly right. This is what we're talking about here. The end goal is to be Jesus level of concrete knowing where it is instant. But like a RPG, you might start off lower, and ultimately we all need to level up our progress bar. Okay, and then somebody saying, asking about visualizing. I can't see super clear, like it's some candid visualization, so it's not necessary. Just go as far as you can, and that's enough. And then, right. Okay, so I'm going to now click on this other post that is linked here. And this goes into how Neville really gave this technique, I guess the origins of this technique, the origin story, the lore of the technique here. So basically, this is from his book, The Law and the Promise, chapter 7 on moods. And basically, there was a woman who needed to manifest several things. So this is the story. So she was like, I was out of a job and had no family to fall back upon for support. I needed just about everything. To find a decent job, I needed a car to look for it. And though I had a car, it was so worn out, it was ready to fall apart. I was behind in my rent. I had no proper clothes to seek a job. And today, it's no fun for a woman of 55 to apply for a job of any kind. My bank account was almost depleted and there was no friend to whom I could turn. She tried applying Neville's techniques, but found herself overwhelmed with the amount of desires she was trying to manifest. I've been attending your lectures for almost a year, and my desperation forced me to put my imagination to the test. Indeed, I had nothing to lose. It was natural for me, I suppose, to begin imagining myself having everything I needed, but I needed so many things and in such short order that I found myself exhausted when I finally got through the list, and by that time I was so nervous I could not sleep. So she began to condense her nightly imaginings into a single feeling or mood. She began to generate the feeling of something wonderful happening right now, in this moment. This is the lullaby technique. One lecture night, I heard you tell of an artist who captured the feeling, or word as you called it, of "Isn't it wonderful?" in his personal experience. I began to apply this idea to my case. Instead of thinking of and imagining every article I needed, I tried to capture the feeling that something wonderful was happening to me. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. I would say over and over to myself as I fell asleep, "Isn't it wonderful? Something marvelous is happening to me now." And as I fell asleep, I would feel the way I would expect to feel under such circumstances. Now, read the success part of her story. This is how the bridge of incidents unfolded. I repeated that imaginary action and feeling for 2 months, night after night. And one day in early October, I met a casual friend I hadn't seen for months who informed me he was about to leave for a trip to New York. I had lived in New York many years ago, and we talked of the city a few moments and then parted. I completely forgot the incident. 1 month later, to the day, this man called at my apartment and simply handed me a certified check in the name of $2,500. That was a lot of money at the time. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the equivalent to like over $10,000 now. After I got the initial shock of seeing my name on a check for so much money, the story that unfolded seemed to me like a dream. It concerned a friend I had not seen nor heard from in more than 25 years. This friend of my past, I now learned, had become extremely wealthy in those 25 years. Our mutual acquaintance who had brought me that check knew him quite by accident during the trip to New York last month. Had met with him quite by accident. During their conversation, they spoke of me, and for reasons I was not to know, for to this day I have not heard from him personally and have never attempted to contact him, This old friend decided to share a portion of his great wealth with me. For the next 2 years, from the office of his attorney, I received monthly checks so generous an amount that they not only covered every necessary requirement of my daily living, but left much over for all the lovely things of life: a car, a clothes, spacious apartment, and best of all, no need to earn my daily bread. This past month, I received a letter and some legal papers to be signed, which provided the continuation of this monthly income for the rest of my natural life. That's impressive. By condensing her desires into the simple phrases and simple fine feelings of having everything she already needed, she manifested a check from a rich friend of $2,500. Oh wow. Okay, so look, I was actually under guessing that. This person says that adjusted for inflation from 1961 to 2025, that's a modern day equivalent of $26,000. Not only that, but the rich friend set her up with free lavish income. Okay. Here are the concise steps for this method. 1, craft a phrase that describes or captures the feeling that you are wanting to generate. For example, isn't it wonderful? Something marvelous is happening to me now. Thank you. I'm so grateful. Universe, God, whatever. Okay. The ones that I would suggest, because I don't really speak like this, and obviously this is dependent on how you speak, the language that you naturally use, but I would say something like, honestly, I'd be like, fuck yeah. Or I'd be like, I can't believe it. I can't believe that I just have all this money coming in. Or I would be like, like you could even lean into the humble brag type of thing where you're just like, man, they just keep sending me money. Like, I just got too much income. Like, how am I going to even keep track of all this money? You could be like, I like going also with the, what would it be like if I just had tons of money? What would it be like if there was like just way too much money in my bank account? Like the IRS might question me, like my bank might start to question me because I got so much money pouring in now. I'm gonna have to, take a look at my taxes. I might have to hire a CPA because I got so much funds coming in my bank account. You don't have to do that necessarily. Like, you don't have to dwell on the potential negative aspects of it, but you could, just to make it more realistic for yourself, also just be like, what would it be like? Yeah, like, what if I just had tons of money? What would it be like? What would it look like if I was making, and then you can say like X amount of money? Or what are some ways that I could just be making X amount of money? What are some ways that X amount of money could be coming to me? You could do an imaginal act, an imaginal conversation of your friend being like, oh my God, like, I can't believe you get to work from home. Like, I'm so jealous that you get to work from home. I can't believe that you're making so much money. These are just some examples. You can come up with more. I have a bunch of examples as well as in my book, but you really want to make this resonate with you and the type of language that you use. So if you don't speak in this type of way that Neville Goddard spoke in, of isn't it wonderful, something marvelous is happening, you want to make it normal. You want to make it a normal turn of phrase that you would use. That's like, man, this is so fucking sick. Like, isn't this fucking awesome that I got so much money coming in my bank account? I'm so fucking pumped that I have so much money coming in. I'm so stoked for all the money that I have in my account right now. I can't believe that I can't believe it was this easy. Anyways, 2, nightly, as you're going to sleep, repeat this phrase over and over again until you generate feelings of fulfillment, satisfaction, joy, relief. This can be done during the day as well. And again, you might want to look at those examples at the beginning where he just had a very simple phrase. It's like, I have plenty of money. I have more than enough money. I have more than enough. I always have more than enough. Something like that. 3, repeat daily, nightly for as long as it takes for your life to change. In the above story, it took her 2 months of repeating the imaginary action and feeling. This takes time and dedication. Are you willing to commit? The beauty of the Lullaby Method lies in its simplicity and its ability to condense complex desires into a single feeling. By focusing on the joy and gratitude of already having what you desire, you align yourself with the reality of what you wish to experience. As this story demonstrates, even the most daunting circumstances can be transformed through persistent application of this technique. Whether you're manifesting one thing or many, remember the key is not the number of desires, but the depth of your feeling. I like the word awareness. I prefer the word awareness to feeling. What wonderful changes will you, or state of awareness, state of consciousness. What wonderful changes will you allow into your life today? The answer starts with a single phrase, feeling, and your willingness to put your faith to the test. So the top comment here is, I love the lullaby technique. It's my go-to method. Years ago, I got out of a legal case and had charges dropped against me by repeating my phrase whilst feeling asleep. Not only did my case disappear, so I would imagine maybe they were like, oh, okay, so they gave their affirmation here. They said, I'm always protected and taken care of. That's a good one right there. That is all-encompassing. Thank God everything is resolved. Another great one, all-encompassing. My life has kind of turned upside down in the past 5 months, and I've been diligently using the lullaby every night, but I haven't seen a dent in my world, only worsening conditions. Okay, it looks like this person, for whatever reason, has entered what as Vadim Zealand would call a downward spiral, or I guess everybody calls it that. But I really like the affirmations that they use for the legal case, that I'm always protected and taken care of, and thank God everything is resolved. So what is or would be an updated version of that so this is cool. This other person's asking them to give themselves an updated affirmation they can use for their current situation. So they said, I've been repeating, thank God everything worked out for me. And thank God my SP and I are back together. Or thank God I'm friends with XYZ again, but I've only experienced worsening in my situations. In both the legal cases and with my life now, I would repeat affirmations into my sleep. It was crazy miraculous how the charges were dropped against me. It was as if the prosecutor's memory was wiped clean. That's what's crazy about this, is you will see literally what looks like glitches in reality by using some of these techniques sometimes. As a side tangent, maybe I'll do a whole video about that, like glitches in reality. But I didn't live in the end or let go of any of that shit. I lived in a perpetual fear and anxiety that I was going to go to jail and my life would be ruined, and I only rocked myself to sleep using the lullaby to feel relief in the moment because it was so bad. So this person responded, here's some ideas that have helped me a lot and may help you. 1, drop any and all references to it has worked out for me. You're dragging the idea of what was bad before with you. 2, completely remove words like protected and safe. Same as above. You're constantly getting protection and safety, which means the thing you're protected from or feel safe about is still present. Interesting. 3, isn't it wonderful? I love my life. Thank God for all this delightfulness. These are complete sentences. Based on what you're reporting, it sounds like you're being conditional on what the wonderful is, what you're loving, or what you're thanking God for. Move away from all that and be as general as possible about how wonderful everything is. Maybe, but I really think this is contextual, and maybe if this person is thinking that subconsciously, you could adjust this. But phrases like I'm divinely protected and like God is walking with me, God has resolved everything for me, I'm always the solutions are always done, it is done. What else did this person say? I am safe. I like those phrases. I don't think that they necessarily necessitate that you need to be fearful. For me, it doesn't. Believing that I'm safe, I'm secure, that gives me that feeling of safety. That gives me that feeling of security. I'm divinely protected. That makes me, anyways, that's kind of just probably something that is going to be, much like a lot of this is, contextually dependent and dependent on you and your connotations of those words. Because unfortunately, we all have different connotations of words. They all conjure different feelings, different emotions, different states of awareness in us. So if you do feel like those words are triggering some sort of like, oh, I need to run away from this thing, then maybe that person is right. Maybe you should follow that advice. For me personally, cultivating that feeling of yes, like that feeling of satisfaction, that feeling of relief, that feeling of safety is a positive thing for me personally. So somebody else is asking if they are getting the feeling of satisfaction or fulfillment or relief, which is exactly what I just discussed, from repeating these affirmations. And here we go. This is why I don't like the word feeling. Somebody said the feeling refers to the knowing it is done, not emotions. And that is correct. That is why I think the word feelings trip people up, and because it's not actually referring to the exact same thing. It's similar, but it's not doing it the exact justice of what is really meant by this teaching. When you manifest a desire, you feel relief or satisfaction. Emotions are happiness. Okay. This is just getting kind of like, I think, lost with the semantics here, maybe a bit, but yeah, language can be a tricky thing. Feeling it done is the secret. We might have way less ambiguity, this person says. And somebody replied, I have no idea why he didn't specifically say it that way, but it would be definitely more straightforward and less ambiguous if he did. Okay. So people are going and analyzing this and wondering why it didn't work the first time, why it's working this time. That's the thing about this stuff, there's the mind and the way that reality reflects our consciousness is still a mystery. We still do not fully grasp it. Quantum physics and science and all these things, mystical teachings, esoteric teachings, they all are pointing towards something that we all kind of are seeing all of these things connect, and the dots are connecting, but we don't, as formulaic as we can be about this, it's hard to guarantee results because there are many different things that cause in reality. And so even though you might be engaged in a technique, some people don't see success with techniques, or some people, it takes longer for them to see success with techniques. But it doesn't change the fact that by doing this, by going with this approach, you can reprogram your subconscious and you can see results with it. But it could have to do with other limiting beliefs. There could be other factors at play with why this person, and it could be a particular circumstance. If he's trying to get the SP thing, maybe he and this SP are just not the right fit. And that's something that, you have to basically use your own judgment on a case-by-case basis if these things are really, in certain cases, what you should be focusing your attention on. Because maybe if a lot of the times people are X's are for a reason. And a lot of the times I think it's more productive to actually allow that space for somebody new to come in if things really were, but of course it's a case-by-case basis. So you have to evaluate that yourself. So, in this person's opinion, he thinks that initially those things worked because he was in a very dire, desperate situation. But now that they're dealing with problems that are not of that magnitude, your reasoning mind gets in the way, and those affirmations don't work the same way. The solution is not to change the affirmation. It's not in what you say, but in the understanding behind what you say. Hang in there and believe in the law. And remember Neville's words. You go through these things, and at the moment things seem to be against you, but they are all for you if you remain faithful to the end. Let me remain faithful to that end, and it will come to pass. Strangely enough, I may pass through certain trials, certain heartbreaks and delays I can't quite understand, but when I reach the end, the whole thing is fulfilled, and I will see it was all done in order. And so the OP responds, you actually might be right. I've noticed that in extreme situations, even with the fear present, there was just no way I can accept another outcome because my life depends on it. Can you elaborate on the power is not in what you say, but the understanding behind it? It refers to how well you understand the law, how it operates, and what it can do for you. I talk a lot about these things in my sub. You're welcome to explore it. In desperate situations, the reasoning mind surrenders to a higher power. But most of the time, outside these situations, it tries to retain control by rationalizing things, and this is when the obstacles are placed between you and what you want. Somebody said, superb explanation. Thanks for sharing. And maybe I will go ahead and see what this person has to say in their sub, because it sounds interesting to me. Anyways, with that being said, guys, I hope that this illuminates how we can use the lullaby technique. Definitely a very effective technique. And like I said, in my book, I go in depth about using that period before we're falling asleep to our advantage so that we can more effectively impress the subconscious mind. And that is exactly what's going on here. There's many techniques in the book, there's many different phrases you can use, and there's many ways that you can suggest the mind more effectively by using hypnotic phrasing, by using process-oriented phrasing, by using humor, by using presuppositions, by reframing things. All of that and more is included in the book. There's also detachment processes, there's forgiveness processes. Some of the times we won't forgive somebody for something. Maybe he doesn't forgive his SP for something that they did. Maybe he's not forgiving himself for something they did. There's so many things that go on with this stuff on a self-concept level, on an identity-based level, that can possibly get in the way. Even if we're doing these techniques, you know, it's like you're trying to rewrite programming that's on top of old programming. It's like first you have to get rid of the old programming. So my book shows you how to do that. With that being said, guys, much love as always. Drop this with a like, hit me with a subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.